Welcome to The Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this incredibly epic progression fantasy that honestly has absolutely everything you could want. We're talking high-stakes revenge, a completely brutal magic academy, terrifying demonic entities, and a hero who just refuses to stay down. Today, we're exploring the complete zero-to-hero journey of a betrayed assassin who is reborn into a world of magic and is forced to fight his way from the absolute rock bottom to the very pinnacle of power. If you love a cinematic underdog story where the protagonist just systematically proves every single doubter wrong, you are going to be hooked from start to finish.
So, how did this all kick off? Well, the inciting incident is, wow, it's brutal. In his past life, our main character was the ultimate shadow assassin. He was raised from childhood as a brainwashed, disposable weapon for his master, Darius, the legendary sword saint. But the very second his brainwashing accidentally broke, Darius betrayed him. And he didn't just fire him, he used a parasitic worm to literally eat his heart out. Yeah. In his dying moments, our guy refuses a demonic possession and is unexpectedly reincarnated. He wakes up as a baby named Rayon Zigart, with all of his past memories and his lethal assassin instincts completely intact. And this creates just a massive night and day contrast between his two lives. Before, he was a cold, emotionless hound living only to kill for a master who saw him as literal trash. But in his new reality, he's born into the Zagart family, which is the most powerful martial arts bloodline on the entire continent. And, more importantly, he has a mother, Sylvia, who loves him fiercely. Now, Sylvia lost her martial arts core and was banished to an annex, constantly mocked by the rest of the family. This gives Rayon a powerful dual purpose, a burning thirst for revenge against Darius, and an absolute vow to protect his mother and restore her to her rightful place. But of course, there's a huge catch. Rayon is born with a terminal illness known as the Frost Curse. Basically, 9 of his mana paths are completely blocked by this lethal ice energy. The Ragged Saint, who is the continent's greatest doctor, diagnoses him and essentially hands down a death sentence. And to make matters even more intense, his grandfather is Glenn Zigart, the Northern King of Destruction. Imagine having a grandfather with a crushing, terrifying presence who acts incredibly cold to Rayon and Sylvia, even though secretly he desperately hopes the boy survives. Over the next few years, Rayon doesn't just sit around waiting for the inevitable. He secretly uses a legendary breathing technique from his past life called the Ring of Fire to fight the ice in his veins. By age 5, he attends the Sword of Justice ceremony, which is a big test of latent talent. When he touches the sword, an explosive golden flame aura ignites. It's the power of the very first family head. But the sword actually hides this from the crowd, showing only a super faint white glow. So all the nobles laugh and label him a colorless, useless outcast, completely unaware that he secretly carries the strongest talent in family history. This perfectly sets the stage for his entry into the family's brutal academy at age 12. But before he can even start the academy, Rayon faces this terrifying mental battle. A dormant entity inside his body wakes up. It's Wrath, the demon lord of ice. Wrath tries to consume Rayon's soul, trying to weaponize the boy's own hatred for Darius against him. But Rayon is no ordinary kid. Using his assassin's willpower, his Ring of Fire technique, and his newly built water resistance, Rayon completely overpowers the terrifying demon. And in a genuinely hilarious twist, he traps this apocalyptic demon lord into the form of a delicate little flower bracelet that he now has to wear on his wrist. Crucially, defeating Wrath unlocks a game-like system window for Rayon. It's literally like a hidden HUD. This proves he isn't just surviving, he is slowly but surely leveling up his stats, shrinking the Frost Curse, and preparing for war. While everyone else in the Zigard family thinks Rayon is just a sickly, frail outcast who gets exhausted just walking across the room, the system is quietly recording his brutal, secret training and his monumental growth. Armed with his hidden stats, 12-year-old Rayon enters the 5th training hall. And this is where the tension really starts to build. There are 160 recruits, and the training is notoriously merciless. The kids from the elitist main branch, especially this arrogant prodigy named Byrne, constantly mock Rayon's frail appearance and that flower bracelet. They fully expect this sick kid from the annex to literally drop dead on the first day. Their first test under Instructor Rimmer is a brutal, seemingly endless marathon. Rayon's strategy is simple, but insanely painful. First, endure on pure willpower. Second, outlast everyone. While the so-called geniuses like Byrne use their aura to cheat their way forward, Rayon, whose lungs feel like they are literally bursting from the frost curse, just keeps running. He shocks the instructors by outlasting all the prodigies on sheer grit alone. And the best part? Thanks to his system, he's actually leveling up his physical stats while doing it.
But the real jaw-dropper comes during the instructor's aura willpower test. Instructor Rimmer unleashes this crushing aura to test their mental fortitude, and it is rough. Dorian literally drops to his knees and throws up. The arrogant Burn is forced to crawl forward in agonizing pain. The prodigy Luna barely endures the storm. But when it's Rion's turn, Rimmer cranks the pressure up to maximum, literally shaking the entire hall. Rion simply reminds himself that his spirit was forged as an elite assassin, calmly strolls right through the impossible pressure, and casually pokes Rimmer in the stomach, asking, "I passed, right?" It is an absolute mic drop moment.
Because of that insane display, Rayon snatches the #1 rank in the training hall. But Burn, completely refusing to accept that a sickly outcast beat him, challenges Rayon to a duel. And it goes terribly for Burn. Rayon completely humiliates him without even breaking a sweat. In fact, Rayon watches Burn's ultimate family technique, the Righteous Tiger Fist, reads its mana flow instantly and flawlessly copies it. He uses Burn's own signature move to knock him out cold. Talk about a humbling experience. Taking first place unlocks a monumental shift in power for our hero. When Rayon reaches out for his reward, a legendary book flies to him and imprints directly into his mind. It's the Thousand Lights technique. This is the legendary aura of the very first Zagart family head. It is a technique so incredibly complex that no one in the family's entire history has ever been able to read it, let alone actually master it. Now, Rayon isn't just a brawler. He's a highly tactical genius. Back at home, his ruthless assassin side takes the wheel. He figures out that one of his mother's maids, Judielle, is actually a spy reporting to the main family. So Rayon traps her and forces her to swallow what he claims is a frenzied worm, which, remember, is the exact same torture parasite that killed him in his past life. He forces her to become his double agent. He later reveals to us it was just a fake worm, but his terrifying mind games completely secure the safety of his mother and their annex. Nobody's messing with Sylvia now. The stakes get even higher, though, when the recruits are sent on their first real mission out to Mount Cebu. What was supposed to be a simple, routine monster hunt turns into a total nightmare. They accidentally cross paths with Eden. Eden is this extremely violent, apocalyptic cult commanded by the 5 demons, who manipulate monsters to wipe out entirely innocent villages. Facing an overwhelming horde of orcs controlled by this cult, Rayon steps up and takes brilliant battlefield command. He actually lets his rival, Burn, lead a loud, flashy frontal attack as a decoy. While the enemy is totally focused on the recruits, Rayon taps into his past life stealth. He slips right through the chaos completely undetected and unleashes an invisible lethal strike right on the hidden green phantom, the monster controller, saving the entire village. But the victory is brutally short-lived. Stepping onto the battlefield next is an actual Eden commander, the Mad Blood Demon. It's like the boss music suddenly starts playing. The aura pouring off this guy is so incredibly heavy that the recruits can barely breathe. They are completely frozen in absolute terror as the demon promises to slaughter every single one of them for ruining his plans. This leads right into a desperate, wildly high-stakes clash. It's the massive physical power and demonic aura of the Mad Blood Demon against Rayon's 1,000-light zenith and precise assassin instincts. Rayon actually manages to use both fire and ice aura simultaneously to land a massive strike, which totally shocks the demon. But the power gap is just way too wide. Rayon is pushed to the absolute brink of death, until Instructor Rimmer steps in at the literal last possible second, unleashing his own sword field to stop the demon and save his students. Surviving this extreme battle against impossible odds results in a massive power spike for Rayon. The system rewards him heavily for fighting an enemy so far above his own rank. His stats just absolutely explode across the board. Strength, agility, sense, they all shoot straight up. Plus, he earns the super rare title Unshakable. He is no longer just a talented kid. He is rapidly becoming a true monster on the battlefield. Realizing the threats out there are only going to get bigger, Rayon heads to the trading city of Kumulun with his classmate Dorian to gear up. They visit the black market, and here we really see Rayon's growing authority. He gets confronted by Janara, the powerful leader of the Black Butterfly, who tries to threaten him out of a valuable ring. Rayon doesn't even blink. He throws the Zegart family name right back in her face, completely terrifying her into apologizing. The guy is absolutely fearless. And he really needs that fearlessness for what comes next. Rayon's squad arrives at Castle Haven, setting the scene for an epic, massive final battle. They are immediately ambushed by a giant horde of ice trolls, orchestrated by yet another Eden commander, the Blue Spirit. Explosions are rocking the city. The supposedly unbreakable fortress actually starts burning to the ground. Amidst all this apocalyptic chaos, while seasoned, veteran soldiers are panicking, what does Rayon do? He actively volunteers to be stationed on the front lines, right on top of the walls. This brings us to an absolutely legendary cinematic climax. Rayon stands on the bloody walls as a seemingly endless wave of giant orcs and monsters tries to scale the fortress. His aura is running dry, his hands are literally tearing open from swinging his sword so much, and his vision is turning red. But he refuses to take a single step back. Bathed in blood, he roars his defiance, fighting relentlessly through the dead of night to protect every single person behind him. As dawn finally breaks over a battlefield completely littered with the enemies he's slain, Rayon stands victorious. But here's the thing. This is just the beginning. With the Frost Curse slowly shattering node by node, his stats exploding, and Eden clearly targeting the whole continent, you have to wonder, what monstrous enemies will Rayon Zegart absolutely destroy next? If this Zero to Hero journey hooked you, you're definitely not going to want to miss what happens when he fully unleashes the Thousand Lights technique. Thanks for joining me on The Explainer, and keep that curiosity burning.